Welcome back, everybody, to the CHG podcast.
What's up, guys?
This is RJ. That's David,
Hi.
and we are CHG. We're coming at you guys with another week's podcast as usual. Last week it was me and a fellow. I don't know if you saw it, David. I had a special guest on last week for
Yeah, I
Halloween.
saw the thumbnail. I didn't get a chance to watch it.
Yeah, he's a really cool guy. He does a horror. Has a horror gaming channel, which I felt that's kind of why I felt it was appropriate.
Mm.
And he's a really cool guy. He's from up north. By up north, I mean the Great White North.
The Canada,
Yeah,
Canada,
the Canada,
the Canada.
the place every American thinks they want to go to.
I mean, not every. I doubt. I think the majority of Texas would disagree with you.
That's true. That should be like, what's that? What you didn't say America? I don't want to go there.
Well, you didn't say Texas. They don't want to go there. It's not. It's not. Believe me, they don't. They don't. They consider themselves
their own
separate
country,
to America.
You know what? It's kind of like Florida, but in this instance, the people decided to be separate. Like the actual citizens. With Florida, everyone else separates Florida from the rest of the country. But Texas, the Texans themselves separated themselves from everybody else.
Yep.
Oh, geez. They're trying to win a civil war that was already lost. So, anywho, so welcome back, guys, to this week's episode here. We're going to get right into it, man. So just so you know, I'm still playing Borderlands, but I have updates. I have updates to everything, actually. So
Ooh.
I beat Borderlands. I got the platinum, and on this past Saturday, I got my last trophies, like DLC trophies. Like I beat the Cromarax raid boss or whatever. Totally glitched it. Which, by the way, a couple weeks ago you asked me what glitches do I use, and that is another one. There is an infamous Borderlands 1 Cromarax glitch that was around since back in the PS3 era, and it still works on the PS4, and I would imagine maybe Xbox One as well. However, apparently it's a little more tricky to do, but basically what it was that have you even seen footage of that raid boss? Okay, so you have to take a giant elevator up to like its lair or whatever, and then when you get there, it's a giant open field or like rock field, whatever. But when you get out, if you point between west and northwest, if you just run that way, you'll run right into like a rock wall. But there's like some ledges, and you can go into the ledges and crouch. And for some reason, when you do that, Cromarax or any of his minions stop attacking you. Like immediately. Like he keeps doing like this little like rah thing. He just does that over and over again. And so it allows you to shoot its weak points because you can only damage it from its 6 weak points, and you have to effectively just take them all out and then you kill it. So its health is divided in 6. And so if you get him in a good position when you do the glitch, he'll basically be wide open with his weak points, and you just pick it off one by one. And so it's a little bit slower, but like if you don't know what to do, it is slower than if you did know, but it essentially allows you to be able to do it. The only tricky part is it has a weak point on its back, which is tough to hit. So it's either you have a rocket launcher and you shoot it just at the right point, and at the right time and angle to where it's the blast radius or whatever will like affect it. Yeah, it'll affect it. And you also need to have the right rocket launcher too. Or if you think you can do it, you basically have to. And this part only really works with Lilith, because her ability allows her to go invisible, which allows you to run around, and because it doesn't know where you are. And apparently, when you come back from your phase walk, you need to jump. Well, first you need to be behind a pillar. Then you need to jump right as you do, because for some reason it says it can't track you while you're in the air. So you have a split second to shoot its back weak point before you land, because once you land, then it knows where you are and try to get you. So you basically have to do that and then run around before your ability refreshes, use it again, and just keep doing that, rinse and repeat until you take out its last weak point on its back. Because my rocket launcher wasn't doing the job. So I was like, well, I guess I got to do it the other way. So I finally did it. And so that wrapped up that game. However, I'm still going to finish up the the two last DLCs just because, and also I'm trying to see if I can possibly get one of those pearlescent guns. Apparently, the odds are 1 in 5,000, according to what I saw. But you know what? I played Pokemon, and the odds to get a shiny Pokemon are like 1 in 8,198. So you know what? I'm used to those kind of odds.
I've never gotten a shiny ever, not one.
Oh, I have.
Not a legit shiny. So I got a shiny in Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, but they changed the rules drastically in that game to make it way easier. So
well, they've been making it easier since like the 6th gen.
No, but I mean like you can always get a shiny. Not like always, but you can guarantee yourself to get a shiny fairly easily. So how it works in Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee is if you only encounter that Pokemon, every time you encounter it, it increases your odds of getting a shiny.
Oh, do you have to use a Pokenav or something as you do it?
No, because
that's what they did in Gen 4.
Because so in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, you see the Pokemon roaming around. So you just don't run into... when I was trying to get Growlithe, I went to Route 6 or whatever, and I just avoided all the other Pokemon except for Growlithe, and eventually I was able to catch a shiny Growlithe after like an hour.
Okay, so first of all, that's still technically legit. And secondly, they had something very similar in Gen 4. There was like a Pokenav or something they called it. Drew Gamer, if you're seeing this, help me out. Put in the comments of what that device exactly was. But it was like kind of like a Pokenav or something. And how it worked was you were in a pile of grass, you activated it, and like some bushes around you would shake, and then you go into one of them and you instantly go into a battle, right? And then you either need to, I think you need to fight it. You need to fight it or catch it. And then once you do, more grass will shake when you come back to the field. And then you just have to keep going into one of those. And then if you find it again, you do the same thing. And so it actually does increase your odds of getting a shiny. Not by those amounts of whatever you had, but it does increase it.
Yeah,
and it also increases the chance of you finding rarer Pokemon.
And this way too, you could guarantee that you get the shiny of the shiny you want. Like it's not random. Like I only was encountering Growlithe, so I was going to get a Growlithe shiny. But anyway,
yeah.
So I am playing Hades.
Hold on.
Fine.
I got 7 more platinum relics in Crash 4 yesterday.
I'm so proud of you.
And now I only have 11 left.
I'm proud of you.
I have 11 to go.
I
have the three last dimensions to go.
You're doing so well.
11 levels, and I was looking online, and half of them are on people's like top 10 worst levels to get them on.
You have fun with that.
So I'm not even close to having fun. I haven't been having fun at all this whole time, but I wanted to let you know.
I'll pray for you.
Please do.
So anyway,
send a donation.
I am playing. I've been playing Hades again.
Yay!
I have made it out with all the weapons besides the spear.
Yay!
So I need to figure out what build will work well with the spear.
Yay!
But yeah, it's fun. Still having fun with that.
Probably a tank build of some kind.
I mean, I don't know. I play a certain style, so
I am basing that entirely off of Neo. Because in Neo for spear, you didn't need that much of a tank. It's not as heavy as like an axe or the Odachi, but you couldn't be that light and be messing with a spear. So I'm just basing that off of Neo. I'm just glad to hear you're playing a game. So
yeah.
Hey, speaking of games, I don't know if Serena would be, or your wife, I should say, would be down, but did you see It Takes Two's coming to Game Pass pretty soon, if not already?
Oh yeah, no, I haven't seen it. Maybe she might.
Maybe
I don't have.
That might be something she'd be down with.
We learned recently that I sold our extra Xbox controller a while ago,
and you didn't know.
I forgot.
You didn't.
Yeah, I forgot.
You forgot.
Yeah, so I'll need to grab a controller, but yeah, she'll probably play it with me.
That sounds like something I've seen people play it. You just need to know how to hold a controller, basically.
Yeah.
As long as you know your way around the sticks,
I'm sure you
should be fine. You should be fine. Yeah, they really made it beginner friendly. Cool. Yeah. Anyways, we're gonna move on. So today's fun question, David gave me the inspiration for it right before we started, and so he doesn't know what it is.
No
But
idea.
you're gonna like it. You're gonna like it. You're gonna like it. It's right up your
Okay.
alley. It's right up your
All right.
alley. What is the best sports game you ever played?
So I guess we can include like extreme sports and stuff like that in there.
Okay. Don't include like skateboarding, skating, mountain biking, traditional.
Okay.
But they can't be like zany. They can be zany, like like Blitz the League or something. But they have to be traditional sports.
See, that's a funny thing. All right, so I have my answer, but when I think sports games, like literally the thing that came to me was like they're not fun in the same way that I find other games fun. They're
Well, I didn't ask you fun. I asked you best.
okay.
So,
but anyway,
I asked
so like
best.
that's just what I was thinking. But the answer is NCAA 14 football.
Really?
Hands down is
Really?
the best.
I feel like that's a cop out because everyone wants a new NCAA.
It's the best sports game, hands down, for sure. It had the best. It had one of the best. So here's the thing: it didn't do anything the best, but it did everything one of the best. So it has one of the best motion engines, like physics engines, in a sports game. It has one of the best like replication of the atmosphere it's going for the college atmosphere. It has one of the best simulation seasons in all games. I would say in that regard, probably the best one. So I guess there is one that it's the best. Back when the servers were up and you could freaking like make your own college team, it was the coolest thing ever. And then EA shut it down, even though it doesn't cost them any fucking money to keep it up. They're just like, no, we hate you guys. So boop, server turned off.
Why did you need the servers make a team?
Because it was an online thing. It wasn't an in-game thing. It was an online thing.
Yeah. Why couldn't you make it why? Why did you make that an online
at
thing?
first it was cool because like when the servers were up, you could load in custom logos and stuff, which it wasn't a possibility to load into the system like it is now for 2K and stuff. They hadn't figured that out. So there was this whole separate website that you went to, you logged in with your Microsoft account and you made your team. And then when you logged into the game with that Microsoft account, you would go to the team builder and it would be there for it. So it was a whole separate server. But anyway, so like all of that combined, the recruiting was the best in all of the college games as far as how you recruited players, and like it had this gem and bust system. So like you could be a lower school, which was always the most fun for me, like taking a 1A school from shit to winning the NCAA championship, and you could be recruiting 1 and 2A, well really 2 and 3A or star prospects, and then there could be a gem that was as good as a 5-star, and then that would like turn your whole program around. It was the funnest thing ever. So my answer is NCAA 14.
Seems to be that what you're going for is that seems to be it was the most robust sports game.
Yeah, it was the most robust. But here's the thing, like, okay, so the new like Doug Flutie Maximum Football stuff, it is very robust. It has a lot of the same. It actually has more customization and things like that than even NCAA football did. But its gameplay is shit. So like, even though it is robust, I can't play it because the gameplay is shit. So
what'd you call it? What did you call it?
Robust.
Don what?
Don. Doug Flutie Maximum Football.
What in the heck is that?
It's an alternative football game with no licenses.
I've never heard of it. Is it like RBI baseball, but for football?
Worse, because it doesn't have licenses.
Worse.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
And at least RBI baseball had like the arcadey kind of style going for it. This is supposed to be simulation, but it is terrible.
Oh jeez.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So it's like, would you say backyard football's better than this?
Oh yeah. Backyard football, for what it was, backyard football was fun. Like for what it was. I mean, think I might have backyard baseball's the best one of the backyard
I
games,
think I might
but
have played Backyard Baseball on PC
yeah,
as a child for
yeah.
like 30 minutes, and I was like, I'm done with this.
No.
But I remember that. I remember Backyard. I think my younger brother played that a little bit.
It's a classic. It's a classic.
Shout out to the Backyard, yeah, for the OGs that know the Backyard series. There was a bunch of them, and it was like yearly for a little while too.
Yeah, it's
Shout out to
common.
the OGs that know that. So since I made it very clear that I am not a sports head by any means, actually, you know, I just remembered wrestling games. I wasn't thinking that, but I guess that would count. That's not like a zany. It's not like an extreme sport. I know sports entertainment, so it's kind of blurring the lines. But okay, if I say traditional, I would say NBA Street Volume 2, because I mean, why not?
Yeah, I
Come on,
mean
everyone loves
that's
that.
definitely up there.
Um,
That was gonna
NFL
be NFL Street and
NFL.
NBA Street was up there for me, but
So I didn't play NBA Street the first one or the third
two
one
is much better.
or any,
Two is
but
the
it's two.
best.
Volume two. Volume two was a classic. Everybody
Got
knows it.
Dr.
Everyone
Dre,
played it.
Dr.
Dr.
J,
J,
Dr. J.
all like the story mode was dope. All the cool characters had their own special tricks and moves, which was dope. They sound like they really went arcadey, and it worked because it was a very clear progression. That everything was satisfying to do. Everything seemed ridiculous, but not to the point of where you couldn't imagine doing some of the stuff, right?
Yeah, like
Um,
if it was Harlem Globetrotters or something with just a
that
touch of unrealism, like it's
Yeah,
yeah,
like they probably got them to do half the stuff
yeah,
in the game.
mo-capped it.
But yeah, so my critic in me says NBA Street Volume 2. NFL Street 1 is a close competitor. I play the crap out of that game. But the nostalgia in me says I think it's AAA baseball like 2000 or something for the PS1. And that's only nostalgia because Travis and I used to play that when we were kids, and I didn't know anything about sports games. I hardly knew anything about baseball at the time, but there was I think that one was kind of more arcadey because there was a bunch of cheat codes in the game. Because I mean, of course, there was PS1,
Mhm.
but you can unlock this character called Speedy Gonzalez, or it was this entire team or something, right? This like cheat code team, and so, but him in particularly, he was like a little tiny thing, and like the bat was like 1,000 times bigger than it. So like the bat size stayed the same, but he was like a tiny little ant. So you barely saw him on the screen, but you saw the giant bat. And then when he hit the ball, he was called Speedy Gonzalez because when he hit it, he you would see like on like the little mini map of where everyone's on the bases and everything. He is gone. He is right at first. Like before they even caught the ball, he's at first. Like it was ridiculous. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. You might
No.
want to go look it up because yeah, it was really fun. Travis, if you ever watch, Travis, if you ever see this, I know you remember that game. But yeah, but as far as outside of traditional, I'm a huge wrestling fan, professional wrestling fan, and amateur wrestling. But WB SmackDown versus Raw 2006. Um, for anyone who's a wrestling fan, you know this was still during wrestling's heyday of video games. Um, it was like they were like on a hottest streak ever between SmackDown, Just Bring It, to like versus like SmackDown versus Raw maybe 2007 or 8. It was just nonstop, just nuts, right? Like the developers were just, even though they were yearly, they were just on a hot streak. Like, you know, like Madden had their hot streak before, NBA had their hot streak. Every sports games had like their hot streak, and that was theirs. It was nuts. Like every year was just better and better and better. And that one particularly for me was amazing because mainly because the GM mode was fucking tops. And that's when I realized I was going to be a business major, because every week you get a spread, you get a like a balance sheet of how the week went before for the show, for like costs and expenses and revenue, and I would spend like 30 minutes every week just dissecting that to figure out like, okay, how do I get the best return for these promos I'm making or these expenses. I was like, all right, I figured it out. I'm gonna be a business major. So I owe that game for that, honestly. But anyways, so yeah, that was that. So we're gonna move on to the main discussion of the day, and I thought we talked about something a little different. You know, just more of a concept rather than anything going on particularly. We're gonna talk about game difficulties. Uh, as anyone who's watched any of our stuff, um, you know, he and I have a very weird dichotomy when it comes to difficulties.
Which I mentioned on the
Which you just mentioned when we played
Yeah.
Borderlands. Or no, Last of
Last of Us. Yeah.
Us. Because we're currently doing a grounded mode playthrough on Last of Us, which I'm playing it and he's watching, or trying to watch when his computer or his PlayStation
When my
lets
internet
him
will let
get
me.
on the share play.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really weird because David, he goes for the recommended difficulty, normal or whatever they call it, regular. It all depends on the game, but you guys know what I'm talking about. Whereas I will always go for easy mode in the first playthrough, at least. Always, always. I don't even care if there's shit locked behind like beating a harder difficulty. If it's not required, I'm not gonna do it, right? So, but I have played many a games, and David knows this, many a games on the hardest maximum difficulty that the game makes you play on
For the
for
trophy.
trophies, mainly for trophies, actually only for trophies. And I have put myself through hell. If not trophies, something like time trials or speed runs in certain games. It makes you do it, like, get the top star or whatever, the top goal. I've done it. Um, it sucks, but it's really. But anyways, I wanted to talk about, like, what do you think makes good difficulty, right? And like, what do you think? Yeah, like where do you draw the line between like difficulty that is good and difficulty that sucks?
Well, I mean, I guess the classic kind of example of a difficulty that sucks is just, you know, you do less damage, they do more damage, or they take more damage, you take less damage. So like a simple numbers game thing, like in Call of Duties and typical shooters and stuff like that, where there's not a lot more to it other than that. I think in a good one, and I don't really have a good example for this, because I only play it on really on one difficulty. But like, if there was a game where the difficulty like made the AI smarter, okay, so a good example of this is XCOM. So on XCOM, when you up the difficulty, the AI just does better. It positions itself better. It uses more complex strategies. It doesn't do it doesn't do as many like just stupid shit like running out into the middle of the open when it can clearly see that I've triggered all my guys for the uh, action where if like, they see a guy, they shoot at him, stuff like that. So like I would say that's a good difficulty. It's just that AI is getting smarter and more complex and stuff like that. So where your skill is still a factor more than just hiding behind a stone until your health regens and then picking somebody off. So let's say that.
It's interesting. I mean, I agree on that point. The thing is, though, it's like sometimes that can suck too, right? Because sometimes that can still just be arbitrary in and of itself, or they do it wrong. An example that comes to mind is Call of Duty World at War. Do you know about that? World at War on Veteran. I didn't do it, but I know many people that did, and it's almost like a meme now because, first of all, it was already just generally hard, right? But apparently, that particular one, every the enemies were always throwing grenades at you, like constantly throwing grenades. Sometimes you were in the vicinity we could throw back. A lot of times you weren't, and you just die by grenade, or maybe there was just too many grenades, or maybe one they threw it and it just hit you while you were trying to shoot. Apparently, like, that was like a really, so you could say, right, you could make an argument like, oh, they're just being smarter, right? Because I mean, I imagine people be throwing grenades in real war, but at the same time, and from a gameplay perspective, it's like, no, this is just fucking obnoxious, and I can't even take a step without having a grenade thrown at me, right? It's like, so even then, when it comes to just making smart AI, even that can be broken or just destroyed ridiculously, right? And however, I will say an example. I may not have been showing it yet so far, but an example I still stand by is Last of Us One, their survivor and grounded mode. Um, I feel that was like probably one of the best examples of a AI increase or whatever, like difficulty in a game, um, because it makes you be what the entire game is supposed to be about: surviving, right? It's called The Last of Us. Everyone's survivors. There's difficulty called survivor mode, and you basically have to do what it wants you to do, right? And so, in the sense, obviously, there's scarcity of supplies everywhere, and because of that scarcity, you cannot be going to most altercations shooting at anybody or just running and punching everybody because you will not
Yeah, and
survive, right?
also taking away like
I will say,
unrealistic things like the listening mode and stuff like that.
yeah, right, like because like listening mode, that was just a good handicap for most players, right? And but that does help you learn where everyone's supposed to be, which then helps you in survivor mode. But then you could say like you shouldn't, but whatever. And I will say one thing that does suck though about that is that it doesn't make sense for Joel to go down in 2 hits, like punches, like just 2 punches.
Yeah,
He dies in 2 punches.
yeah,
No one dies in 2 punches to the face, right? Like that doesn't make any sense. I wouldn't like it, but I could understand if like a gunshot killed him. Okay, I can live with that. But 2 punches in a fist fight and he's dead. It's like, come on, man. Like that doesn't make no gosh damn sense. But everything else makes sense. Everything else is it just pushes you to be a survivor, which is the point of the freaking game. You have to be really stealthy. You have to sneak around everywhere as much as possible. You use your shivs as sparingly as possible. Um, just everything comes so sporadically that you just have to go by as like a stealthy little ninja, which honestly makes it does make every ending of like a scene or altercation, whatever, feel better. Like you feel more satisfied because like you're like, man, I got through that. Didn't use any supplies, no gunshots. I didn't use a hit off my 2x4 or anything like that. Like you feel good. It gives you a really good sense of satisfaction after you're done.
yeah. So I have two other examples that I think are done well. So for sports games, right? Because there's different
Oh
levels
yeah,
of
I've heard
sports
about that.
games.
Yeah.
So like
Hmm.
I think most of the sports games I think are just are in the lines of like the computer just does better. The computer, like in NBA, it just makes more shots. And you miss, like your shot meter is just harder to hit. In Madden especially, it's bad. It's just the game will just choose that you fumble more, or and like
What?
the computer on all Madden, it just catches fucking everything. Like on defense, offense, it just doesn't not catch it. But what MLB does really good that I like is I am on, I think, the second to last difficulty for pitching, and I suck at hitting, so I'm only on the middle one for hitting. But essentially, what that does is on the pitching one, it employs real strategies that real pitching use. So like, it won't always pitch it in the zone. It will purposely pitch it like outside, and it'll react to what you're doing. So like, if I'm swinging at fucking everything, then the computer just won't throw it in the zone. They'll just keep on throwing it off the plate, because if I'm swinging at everything, then they're just gonna sail it away and have me swing. Or if I'm hitting, or if I'm pitching and I accidentally like groove a pitch down the middle, like real players are gonna punish you for that, and they'll hit it all the time. So like, it feels earned by the computer, because as soon as I release a ball, sometimes I'm like, oh fuck, and then they'll hit it, and they'll slap it for a home run or something. So like, that's done really well. I think MLB is probably the only sports game that does like the difficulty curve well, in my opinion. And then on their higher difficulties. Um, and then also talking about Hades difficulty is done well as well. So like, you don't unlock any other kinds of difficulty for Hades until you've gotten out one time, and then they do this like heat system where you can impose on yourself
Yeah,
chosen
handicaps that.
chosen difficulties. So like, you can make the,
Mhm.
the monster stronger, or you can put a time limit on yourself, or XYZ. I think that's done really well, because you as the player know what you're going into and know the difficulty that you're putting on yourself. So it's a known quantity. So like, yeah, it is just they take more damage, but you knew that going in. So you can form your strategy around that particular run on that particular handicap, which I think is cool too. A cool way to do it.
Speaking of Hades, so have you before Hades, had you played a lot of roguelikes or roguelites?
Yeah, I was getting into a lot more. So I played. There's this one called Neon Genesis. I played that a crap ton.
Oh, is that the one with the crazy like upside down and all these weird things?
Uh,
Or is that a different
no,
game?
that's Hero Tales.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I played Hero Tales. I played Dead Cell. I played the gun one, gun hero, or the one where like you're literally fighting bullets and guns. Um, but
What?
I played that. I played yeah, I played a lot of roguelikes.
Okay, so since you have history, because I've never played them. When I found out, like when I learned, I didn't even know what they were for the longest time, and then when I found out, and it was like, yeah, these games just don't give a fuck about you. They're meant to just make you sad. So I was like, all right, cool. And a lot of them are usually in a top down or like a turn based, usually combat whatever. So I was like, that's not even my thing, anyways.
Not turn based
But
per
because
se. There
well,
are
some I've
some
seen
like
some that's why I
Darkness.
said some
Yeah, there's
some.
a couple.
It's just they're not usually in a. Returnal was different because that was like one of the few, if not the only, big one where it was third person shooter. Usually they're not like that. So I'll pick that one up just because that's my type of genre of game. But anyways, because you since you do have experience in it, do you think those are done you'll use most of the time, or you think they just like to just punish people?
No, I like it depending on the one. Like, all the ones I've done, I think I've done it well because the kind of gameplay gimmick behind uh roguelikes is that you gradually get stronger and you gradually are able to overcome a little bit more and a little bit more, both with your innate skill at the game getting better. But most roguelikes, all the ones I've played, you get like either a currency that you carry over and then can spend to up your skills, or maybe you get to a certain save point that gets you a little bit further, and then at that save point then you don't restart the whole thing and you go from there, or you'll save weapons or stuff like that. So like, for example, when I was playing Hades, which is the best one I've ever played, it's there's through four stages you have to get through before you get to the final boss. And the first like several runs I did, I barely made it through the first sub boss of that level. And I'm like, how can you do this? How can you get all the way through and then beat Hades himself, which is a two-stage boss fight, and he just throws fucking everything at you? So like, but then as I started to upgrade my guy a little bit more and understand the weapons a little bit better, I started to like, okay, I got through the first stage without losing a life. Um, so, and then I got through the second stage without losing a life, and stuff like that. So, I think they're done really well because at the beginning, yeah, at the beginning you're fucked. Like you will die. Like, unless you're an incredible and I'm sure there's some gamer who's done a zero run and gotten through all the weapons without upgrading, without dying once, while playing it blindfolded. Like, YouTube and the gaming community is crazy. But in a general sense, it does a really good job of making you feel like you're gradually getting stronger, which I really
So
like.
is that the case of most roguelites in
All
roguelikes?
the ones that
Whereas
I've
like you said, you carry over currency or weapons
Yeah, all the
or things
ones
like
I've
that.
done.
Is that so?
I
That seems
Yeah,
standard,
that
more
it
or
seems
less.
standard. All the ones I've had, they've had
Okay.
some kind of thing that carries over, so you gain a little bit of strength each time.
Okay, that makes me okay because I for those of you who remember some weeks ago I was sharing that I was playing Remnant from the Ashes some time ago, and one of the DLCs was essentially they added a roguelike mode to the game, and I fucking hated it. I hated every fucking minute, right? And so here's a couple things that it did. So now I'm hearing from you, if like for proper roguelike games, this is not the case. So
And I'll tell
you
you, I'll
start
tell you.
off, you start off with nothing, which okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And you start off with 1,500 currency.
Mm-hmm.
I think they called it scrap or something, right? And then there's like 5 or 6 pillars that have different types of items. So one of them is just for armor, one's for weapons, one's for like consumables, one's for like accessories, right? So they're all separate like that. And then you choose, you go with the 1,500, use the 1,500 base currency you got to buy whatever you can, but you essentially can only really buy 2 things at the most because of the cost of the items. And then you're like, okay, whatever you grab. If you start off with a pistol, by the way, start off with a pistol. And then whatever you get, you're good. And you start the level. It's a randomly generated level out of the levels that in the game. And then you go on and then you fight it. You go about it like normal and you're collecting things along the way, scrap. You can find extra accessories, weapons, and armor too from certain chests. So you may not necessarily need to buy everything you need. Sometimes you can find it. And then you get to whatever boss is randomly put in your way, and then you beat the boss, and you move on to the next level. And then everything carries over, obviously because you didn't die. But if you die at any point, everything gets removed from you. So you lose all the armor you had, all the weapons you had. The only thing that might carry over is instead of starting off with 1,500 currency, depending on how far you got, because they count a run, or I wouldn't say a run, they count stage, I guess we could say. I'm trying to compare it to Hades. Every boss you beat, you get a counter, right? You get a counter of 1. And then if you get high enough, if you get enough of them, you'll get maybe a little bit more than 1,500 on your next run to start off with. It's not much. It's like maybe 100. If you get really high, it might be like 500 extra. But you still only end up being able to buy maybe 1 extra thing, if that. And that's only that is contingent on how far you get, by the way, like I said. But everything else is gone. Nothing else carries over. So I'm hearing from you, you're saying that like, weapons and currency, whatever, because like you may have had 5, 6, 7,000 in currency, right? Or just something higher than 1,500. When you die, all of that gets reset. You basically get reset completely. The only thing you have is, I guess, knowledge, maybe, of the boss and how to take it out, maybe. But other than that, no, everything else is reset. And it seems to be that's a little bit different than some of the ones you've
so
played.
it sounds similar. My feeling, at least from what you're telling me, is that it's just not balanced well. So like for Hades, for example, I think you start out the game with 3 choices for weapons, maybe 2, maybe 1. I don't know. Actually, now I'm thinking about it, maybe it only starts with 1. Whatever. That's not really the point because the weapons are all fairly matched. It just depends on what you like. Like none is like game breaking. Like they all have their setbacks and stuff like that. But you start out with a couple weapons to choose from. And then like all your stats are base. When you're in the game, you collect darkness, coin, and gemstones. So darkness you carry over. Anything that you get, any darkness you find in the run, you get to keep after you die. And darkness you go and you use on this mirror, and you can get certain buffs to random things, like and like how much you encounter certain levels of what they call boons, which is like gifts from the gods that give you certain powers. So like you can increase the chance that you'll get a rare boon or something like that. And all of that will always carry over to every run you have. Gemstones you can use to buy either upgrades for your home world, either cosmetic stuff or the real actual stuff that helps you with the runs, or like pots that have that have a coin in them, or you can buy this chest that you can like basically wager that you can kill a certain amount of enemies in a certain amount of time, and then you get like either darkness, health, or coin or whatever. Um, so and then the coin in the game, when you get coin in your run, that you will lose if you die. But throughout the stages, every now and then you'll come up on a shop that you can buy like health or a boon or an upgrade to a boon or something like that. But that you'll lose if you die. And then eventually you get other things if you beat certain stages. If you beat enough stages, you can get Titan Blood, which then you can upgrade your weapon, and the weapon stats will be boosted. And it has all sorts of other things. Like that's just a few things. It has a whole bunch of other things based on the relationship mechanic that it has built into the game. That if you build a relationship with a character, they'll give you gifts that you can use in the run that will buff certain stats. So Hades does it the best because
That's what I'm
it
hearing.
has
You get
so
a
many
lot.
different things, but it also it never feels like I had to do run after run after run for like I think I didn't beat my first I think I didn't get out of hell my first time until after like my 30th run or something like that. Like I had a shit ton of runs before I got out. Um, and then that was my only time I got out, and then I had to do like 40 more runs until I got out the second time. And now I think the last time I was playing, I got out like consistently. Like I got out one time, twice in a row, and then I had a couple runs that I didn't get out, and then another time I got out because I had enough buffs. I think my entire mirror for the darkness upgrades are all upgraded, so I can't get any more upgraded than that. So I basically have all of my base stats and chances boosted up all the way. There's other ones that you have a skill tree that gives you a few little boosts and stuff like that, but Hades is definitely the best as far as balance in the game goes.
Well, it seems to be that if there's some of the other ones you've ever played of something at least slightly similar
Slightly.
to that, they all seem better than what the shit I went through. Because one thing I'm not hearing is, and maybe there is still, but like there's way too much randomization in this. So any progression you may have had gets swept away because okay, so like let's say you made it through 3 bosses, right? And by the way, I forgot to say you get a buff. You get like a special buff you can apply to your weapons, or they call them mods. Special mod that you can apply to your weapons. Well, one of your weapons for every boss you beat, right? Which some of them are actually essential to beating other bosses, ironically enough. Um, if not essential, it just makes it a lot easier. And so you get those, and then I like with Hades. So after you beat a boss, and you go back to that like home world or whatever group place, and you can buy stuff again. However, every time you come into that place, whether you're starting a new run or you're going between runs or you're going between bosses, whatever, um, and the items in the pillar are always randomized. So you never know what you'll get at any given time. And so and like I said, let's say you made it 3 4 bosses, maybe you got 200 extra currency to start off with, so you have 1,700, right? Okay, great. You might okay that is better than 1,500. Okay, I get it, whatever. But since you're stripped naked again, and if you go into any of the pillars and they don't really have anything that good to set you up, like or not really set you up per se, but just to just give you a
Yeah, I
fighting
gotcha.
chance, right? Because you're not going to do anything with that fucking pistol. You're not going to like the pistol that you get in this game are probably nowhere near equivalent to any of the 3 weapons that you say you get in Hades by any means. So it's like if you don't get anything good enough to hold you over to even get through it, like just because you have to fight through a regular stage before you get to the boss. It's not just a boss rush. You have to fight through the regular stage. If you can't even get through that because the pillars only like had you get like really shitty armor or really bad weapons, or if you can't find any in any of the chests or through the level, you had no chance against the boss from the get go. So it's like there is no like the progression you may have gotten. You can be pushed right back to where you were. Whereas you're saying with Hades and other ones, regardless if you die the beginning, the middle, somewhere in the end, you will be able to always feel some sense of progression
Yeah,
every
you
time.
always get
And
something
there is no such progression sometimes. There's
unless you
nothing.
die like
Sometimes you can end up with
right.
crap. Okay, yeah, if you take one step, die, of course you're not going to get anything. But like you could be making progression, but it can be taken away from you just by the RNG. So
Yeah, I mean, there's
it
there's
drove me
definitely
insane.
RNG in Hades, but it's done in a way that it's still good. Like there are definitely boons that I like better than other boons. Like my favorite boons are from Zeus. He uses electricity, so like there's this boon that when you hit somebody with your attack, electricity will the electricity makes the initial attack more powerful, and then also it will like spark off into nearby enemies, and then you can get a boon from him again that makes that more powerful, and so on. And I love that because I can wipe out like entire rooms in like a couple hits sometimes if I get the right boons. But then there's boons that I don't like as much. Like I don't like the boons from uh Poseidon that much because it's a knockback, which is okay, but it basically just means that I knock them back and then I have to go chase after them to you know hit them again, which I don't like. But you can always, if you're thinking about it, you can always come up with a combination of boons that should do well enough for you to get at least decently far. Um,
Do you keep
those ones at the end of the run,
No,
you
you don't
and
keep.
they're
Okay,
random. So
that's
like
fine.
you could start off
That's fine.
with boons and for a weapon that you don't use that way. So like because each weapon has a normal and heavy attack, and they act completely different. So you might get a boon that uses heavy attack, but you're pretty much only using normal attack. So there's sometimes you get screwed by RNG, but it's you could still choose to alter your tactics to use the boons that you got.
Yeah, but you get so many things that you
Yeah,
said
it's really cool. I
that
love
carry
Hades.
over and
Hades,
make you help
you
help
should
you
play
out. So
Hades.
I will one day. Just and don't ever. Well, if you play Remnant, don't play
I
the
already did. I
stupid
didn't like
roguelike mode.
Remnant.
It's fucking
I didn't like Remnant.
gross. Yeah, it's well, their
I didn't
game is
like it.
fine, but the roguelike mode is garbage. Anyways, but before we wrap up here, I wanted to say you can't talk about difficulty without talking Dark
Yeah.
Souls and the
Yeah.
Souls like series as a whole. So I mean it's been branching out quite a bit now. It's not just
Yeah.
Dark Souls, right? So like of course if you want your traditional Souls, you play Dark or Demon Souls, there you go, right? But now we have different variations of it. We have if you want something faster, you got
Yep.
Bloodborne or Neo. If you want something a little easier but still gives you the sense of it, you can grab Lords of the Fallen, or you can grab I would even argue, Remnant actually kind of.
Yeah.
It's a little bit it's not as soulsy. It's there, but it's not as crazy as other ones, especially mainly because it uses guns rather than melee. But and now we also got like some 2D Souls games, like Salt and Sanctuary, I believe is a Souls like, technically, and I think it had a sequel too. I could be wrong on that, but I think it had a sequel. But like now, we're seeing like 2D Souls games coming now. So it's all branched out quite a bit. Now, of course, I haven't played all of them, and neither have you. But you've played Souls, Dark Souls.
Yeah.
You love Dark Souls. I have played Neo 1 and 2. I absolutely love that. I dabbled into Bloodborne recently just to see how fast was it, how was the fighting, you know, um, but not really enough to really say too much yet. But um, what do you think draws you and so many other people to Dark
I
Souls or
mean,
the Souls genre as a whole? Because
it's
I have
probably
my opinion,
cliched,
but
but
what do you think?
just
What do you think is for
that
you?
hard but fair kind of thing. Like it never there was almost never. No, I'm not saying I never felt this way, but I eventually got over it. But there was very few times where I thought the game was bullshit. Like I definitely got mad and like very upset, and I
Oh,
may have said
how do you
bullshit,
not?
but like at the end of the day, I knew why it happened, like, and it was my mistake. Either I didn't check the corner properly, or I overstretched my stamina a little bit too much. I went in too heavy, or something like that. Yeah,
Got
got
greedy.
greedy.
Mm-hmm.
And it all, and you can go on that next time and be like, okay, well now I know I can't get over greedy, and waste my stamina here. And so like I love that. Um and it's funny. So like, I love Souls, like Souls 1, 2, and 3, all of them, love them, play them all. I really like Neo 2. I didn't play much of Neo 1, but I really like Neo 2. I don't like Bloodborne, Sekiro.
Not at all. You
No,
don't like it. I know. Well, you
yeah,
tried Sekiro as
maybe
well.
because I'm not a
Why
parry
would
guy.
you?
Like, I don't
Did you think
know.
you're gonna? You didn't like Bloodborne. How are you not? How are you gonna like
Yeah,
Sekiro?
I don't. I'm not a parry guy, so maybe that's why. And parrying in both games are essential. Like, you have to parry.
Really, pairing and blood. I know parry
Yeah,
was essential in
gun
Sekiro, but I didn't know it was.
parrying in Bloodborne is essential. Like, you have to be able
Oh,
to
okay. I'll
gun
keep that in
parry.
mind. Well, I'll have to figure out how to even do that because, of course, the game won't let
Yeah,
me know. But I'll have to
yeah,
figure it out somehow. um, I was gonna say to add on to your point. I mean, obviously, it boils down to the hardware fair, but I was gonna make an extension of that. And before it became even the juggernaut of a genre that it is today, when it was still kind of in its growing phase, I would say. I remember hearing from, I don't know if it was on YouTube or if it was from a customer when I was at GameStop, but they said, whoever it was, they said that it was like the first game that they played that they could feel it respected them. Like the game respected them as a player, it respected their intelligence as a player. Not just because of the no hand holding, but because like I guess something deeper than beyond I understand, right? Just like the mechanics, the way it goes about the game. It was such a breath breath of fresh air um to be able to play a game like that because every other game just thinks, they assume you never played a game before or something. But this one was like, no, we if you're playing this, we assume
yeah. The
you know what you're
trial and
doing.
error
So we're
kind of
gonna treat
thing.
you
I
like
also
that.
like how it's like. Oh shoot, I had something I was gonna say. Um, no, continue because I totally forgot.
Cool. But yeah, I mean, I don't now. Here's and I think that's like I think that might be the key, right, to the Souls genre as a whole. They do it in different ways. I'm sure Sekiro and Bloodborne probably give you the same feeling, but differently because they're so fast. And obviously, the parrying is a mechanic that's not apparently as strongly pushed as in the Soul series, right? And in Neo, right, like it's not really a matter of pairing. It's really knowing how to dodge and knowing how to build. They build like it respects you as a player to understand its systems and it's like it's gear building and everything. If you don't get that, or if it intimidates you, you're not going to do well in the higher
Yeah, and I
difficulties. You can get by in the first
I
one, but
remember what
not
I
the
was gonna
later
say.
ones.
So it also, these type of games, and it's the same way, the same reason why I like multiplayer games, like Apex and stuff, is that your skill matters. Like, you can like you have to be good at the game. Like, you get better just at the game itself. For like, so like Fallout, which I love. Like, you can not play Fallout for years and go back to an old save file, and as long as you can get a grasp on where you are in the story and stuff, your level and your gear determines how hard it is for you. Like, there's not a lot of skill involved in Fallout, but like, I can go to my best build in Dark Souls, that's saved on there, and I haven't played Dark Souls in a long time. I can go to my best character in Dark Souls and go and try to play it and get my ass kicked by even the early levels because I just fucking can't dodge or parry right anymore, and I have to get better at the game, get good.
Like
Yeah, re-get
re
good.
get
Yeah.
good. I will say I think Neo
Oh
has a
yeah,
little
yeah.
bit of that as well because
Neo is the
I think I
most
will.
Souls like game, in my opinion, that I've played.
That's
That's
not
not
Souls.
Souls, and like, I think it is. That's why I like it. It's like, it's more Souls than Bloodborne is, or Sekiro for sure. Like, I'm
Hmm.
hoping I'm hoping
It is. It's.
the new game Elden Ring is Souls like. I'm praying it's Souls like and not Sekiro or
We'll see.
Bloodborne.
We'll see. I will say Neo is
Mm,
faster than Souls, but it is slower than Bloodborne and Sekiro, which is probably like I think it's just fast enough for you
yeah,
without
yeah,
being too crazy, right? And also because it's so melee focused as well, and parrying is
At
not
that
really
same
a thing.
Soul
You can do it if you're a sword build, like a single sword build. I think even double sword build, there actually is a parry skill that can wipe out people, but
well, and
you don't
also
have to
it's
do
funny because
that.
I on Neo 2, my favorite weapon is probably the fastest weapon, which is the switchblade. The switch scythe. I love the switch scythe. The
The
switchglaive. I love the
switchglaive.
switchglaive. I love doing that.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, it's
Just
just really
whipping it
dope.
around
I never
and
used it
then
because it's not that.
unfolding it into a combo. Like, oh, I love it.
Yeah, it is pretty cool when you know how to string everything together. Um, but yeah, I think Neo might have that in the sense of like if it's been a long time, you're gonna have to remember getting
Mm,
reacquainted with everything, right? Um, Not only that, but because like let's even if you had like a meta build, but it's been a long time, you could theoretically get wrecked by like the Gaki enemies, like those little like
mm,
those little guys. They could take you out, right? Because even on lower difficulties, they do enough damage to where like if you didn't know what to do, you could get overwhelmed. If like enough
yeah.
enemies were coming at you. Which I think it proves your point about it being close to a Souls game. But I again, like I just really think it goes back down to like just respecting the player. You do there is a bar of entry, whatever. Like there's an entry level
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
skill
for
that you
sure.
need to get from the beginning. You can if you were only playing Animal Crossing your whole life, you may not do too well here, you know. And or like even if you just play like Mario or Zelda, like you that well maybe not the
You'd
newest
have a
Zelda,
little bit.
maybe older Zeldas, but like yeah, because the newer Zelda heavily influenced by Souls, but the like later ones in like Mario's, they're great games. Absolutely, no one's gonna argue that. But like, I don't know if that's gonna set you up for like going to Souls, right? You kind of have need to have played games not just for a long time, but just also have like played games that have been tough in their own rights and whatever reasoning, and also be able to understand and be patient and respect the game for what it's trying to do. Because I feel if you do that, that type of game will respect you back, which is like which was like the first time or maybe first big time like notable time where a game did that to players, right? It's like you respect us, you respect this game, it will
Mm,
respect you back. Most games I don't think have that, which is probably why people complain about skill ceilings in all other games so often, because so many games don't treat you the way that Souls games treat you, with that innate respect, with that understanding from the beginning of the type of gamer you might be. Most gamers go for the broad appeal, for as if you never played a game before, and so their difficulty will only go so far. So, but when they want to launch it to the moon, everyone's like, "What the fuck?" Right? Um, you could say that, like you said, Fallout's not a hard game. I agree. Borderlands is not really that hard of a game in its base form. I know you can make it harder, but its base form, no, it's not. So when you go into a fight a raid boss at first, you might be like,
yeah.
"What the hell?" That was my thought when I first did the Borderlands 1. I was like, I'm beating everything. All the bosses, nothing, right? Maybe, well, not say nothing, but there's a little bit of challenge, but like nothing, like I can't handle. I'm like over leveled. I'm going through the DLCs, no problem. And then you fight the Cromarax, and you're like, okay. It says the mission's level 61. You're like, whatever. It's probably just for show. And you get there, and then you're like, nothing I'm doing is hurting you. And also you have like these little minions that are like just mini me's of that thing, so they're also hard to kill, and you get wrecked like in 2 minutes, and you're like, what just happened? Right? It's like you went from a game that was just going through it, the motions, difficulty wise, and maybe a couple little bumps here and there, to that, and it's like if the game had been treating you like that from the get go or earlier, that
Yeah, it wouldn't have
wouldn't
been
have been
bad.
so crazy.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of games do that, right? They'll send out like I think Kingdom Hearts is a big is a. I don't mean to diss Kingdom Hearts, so
I
don't
don't
come
like
at
Kingdom
me.
Hearts.
But I think Kingdom Hearts is a big.
I didn't
Oh
enjoy it.
no!
I didn't
He
enjoy
said
it.
it, not me. He said it.
I
He
didn't
said
enjoy
it.
it.
He said it. Don't you come at me. I'll give you his address right away. Don't come at me. But Because in Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, I think a lot of them, I think almost all of them, at least the main ones, there's like secret bosses as you beat the game. And they're like, bro, like they're on another level
Yeah, but
compared to
that's
like the
secret
main
bosses in
game
general. Like
bosses.
secret bosses are meant for challenge. Like they're meant to kick your ass.
I mean, you could argue, okay, just because Chromarax wasn't secret, it is an end game boss, which is essentially what those bosses were. They were an end game boss
Yeah.
in an RPG.
I
Essentially the
think
same
if
thing. Just because you had to find them, just
I
because
think
you
you're
had to find
asking
them
for it. Like
doesn't. I
it's
don't
not
think
like
that
something
changes.
okay, this might be getting too far, but real
You're
quick
asking.
without going too much on it, this is just an opinion. Is it's different than a boss you have to make it through to either beat or progress in the game. Like if you need to beat the boss to beat the game or progress in the game and it's such a difficulty spike, that's annoying. But if it's a boss that you don't if it's an enemy you don't have to fight and it's that difficulty spike, I don't it's not a big it wouldn't upset me because I'm just like okay, like if I don't want to fight it, I don't want to fight. I don't need to fight. I don't have to fight it.
I mean, I hear you. I hear your opinion, and I can see why that would be valid. But I could still see people being rightfully upset, even if it wasn't a
If you're
necessary
not good
boss.
enough, then too bad.
Um,
All right, guys. Well, let us know. Let us know what you think about difficulty. Like, what do you play on when you play your games? Do you play on easy, medium, always hard? Are you like RJ? And when you can, you just say screw that and play on the low difficulty, but have to do it for trophies, or just let us know your preferences. Let
don't
us
be
know
like
like
me.
the
Don't
most.
be
I
like
would
me.
like to know like the hardest, the most unfair difficulty spike you've ever had in a game, and what the game was, and if you ever got past it.
Ooh, Uncharted 1. Fuck that. Oh my gosh. Crushing mode Uncharted 1 was a bitch, man. There was like early in the game too. There was like a section where you need to take out something too, like from a broken airplane that crashed, and it's like sprawling about, and it's been used as cover from like the Islanders or whatever. That part can get fucked. I oh gosh, I don't want to know how much time I spent on that section, man. That was terrible. That's mine. That's mine. That was bullshit. Um, Also, let me know if you guys need David's address for his blasphemy about Kingdom Hearts that he spat
If
out
other
to you
people
guys.
like it, that's
I will
cool.
gladly,
It's just it
I
was
will
not a game
gladly
for
give it to
me.
you. Well, it's just the Kingdom Hearts
I
fan
thought it
base
was
is
gonna
on
be
another
better.
level. You don't, you don't come at them. You don't come at them like with them words. I will give you a direct address. I'll give you his phone number. I'll give you his wife's phone number, so you guys can go kill them. Um, but anyways, guys, like David said, let us know your favorite game, game difficulty, what you guys do, which one was the worst for you. Do you play Souls games? Do you not? Do you play hard games or hard difficult? I know there's a guy on the Discord. Shut your gob, or yeah,
Gab.
shut your gob, yob. I think it's gob, gob. He lives for that shit. He plays everything on as hard as he can, or as hard as he can possibly do. Um, I don't know why he would just happily jump into that mess, but that's what he does. Um, anyways, guys, if you like this podcast, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell for when you guys, if you want to see more of this, if you want to see more, we put episodes out every other day, regular stuff, regular content every other day. We put this out on Sundays, and with that, we will see you guys next week.